What is going on, everybody? This weekend I played in a fun tournament. You've never heard that before because most people are familiar with the ITC and competitive 40K. But our local store, with the help of Mike and Jeff, you can check them out on YouTube. I'll link them below. What's new with Mike and Jeff? After this video, go over there and comment that the Redbeard boss sent you. If you subscribe or like, or at least watch one of their videos. It's a lot of new release unboxing stuff. And they are local to Phoenix and work at the game store that I attend every single moment of my life that I'm not doing this or work or eating or going to the bathroom. But so this weekend we had they sponsored a 50 power level OG 40K tournament, OG standing for Old Gamer. And I actually started when I was very young in 2nd edition, so I do relate a lot to the old style of pre-internet Warhammer. And only in the last 4 or 5 years have I gotten back into it and a lot into the painting. I think the painting's what really kept me. The old OG tournament was super fun, and we had like 32, 38 players or something. Like, a lot of people showed up, and you wouldn't expect that for a fun tournament where it doesn't affect your global or ranking, whatever, right? It's just literally people going to play 40K and have fun. I personally brought my Death Watch, and we played 3 games. And the first game I had a draw, second game I had a win, third game I had a loss, and these were my absolute first 3 games with my Death Watch. I've been working on them not as much as I should be, but I did, before the tournament, put out like 40 Marines and a repulsor tank and just see what I could get done to bring to the event. So my list was like 3 units of intercessors with an aggressor with flamestorm gauntlets and the assault bolt rifles so they could all run and shoot, and a repulsor, and inside was my warlord who was a chaplain, and a unit of 3 aggressors with flamestorm gauntlets, and they were kind of my melee unit. The chaplain definitely helps them because he lets them re-roll their misses, and they hit on 4s in combat. So pretty nice to have that little unit. They're not super, I don't know, I can't say they weren't great. They were pretty cool. My list was not competitive. It was based purely on what I had painted. And the reason I have 6 Flamestorm Gauntlet aggressors is because they were already built, easy build ones, and when I bought part of the army off somebody. So those are the ones I have, and I do have them painted. So I was happy to try them out. Super fun games. It was interesting that like a lot of new people played. Like, I even go to the game store during the weekends that there's big events that I don't play. And I see a lot of if you're into like 40K or into like tournament 40K, which I'm not, but I do participate in every once in a while, you'll see a lot of familiar faces. And it was super cool to see a lot of people play that just don't really participate in the normal like ITC event, which there'll be a 2-day GT at our local store, Imperial Outpost Games, on Saturday. So literally, yesterday, OG 40K tournament, and then a week later, the GT ITC 40K tournament. And so I guess, we have a lot of players that are into 40K in Phoenix. So I'm sure that'll bring, 20 to 40 people. Although lately the ITC events have actually declined in numbers at the local store. I think that's because between all the game stores, there is almost an ITC event every single weekend. Or just about. There's got to be at least 2 a month, I would assume, between all the stores around the different cities. But, so I wanted to, there's a few things about a fun tournament, right? It's not promoted as there being any benefit of winning. The flyer specifically is like best theme, best painted single miniature, best sportsman, really all this, not any kind of first, second, or third, and there really was no second or third prize. Now, people still brought tournament lists. I did not. I based my list purely on what I had painted, what I could get done in time, or almost done without picking out too many of the little details. Because like I said, I've been working on like 40, you can see like 40 Primaris Marines in a repulsor tank like simultaneously. And so it was interesting. A lot of people literally just brought pretty mixed, fun lists. And then a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but quite a few, I think, kind of gamed the system a bit. And I think this is a problem with power level, because the game it's about to hit second chapter approved. And the second chapter approved will be the second time they adjust points. But they have not adjusted power level as far as I know. Maybe they have and I just missed it, but pretty sure power level has been the same since the original release of all these units in their codexes. And that's a problem, because if they were undercosted, they will have a low power level. Then when they go up in points, their power level still remains low. And if they go up in points or their equipment goes up in points, it's like double, because you don't pay for equipment in power level. So units that were interesting to see, like Tyranid Warriors, Vanguard Veterans, things like that, Devastator Squads, they're not paying for their weapons. Vehicles with Hunter-Killer missiles for free, Eldar vehicles with all the upgrades, Carnifexes with all the upgrades. There was some talk previously about, everybody's going to run, Thunderhammer, Storm Shield guys. And that wasn't the case, but it was interesting nonetheless. So the thing that I was thinking about is so my third game against a guy who does play in the ITC, nice guy, absolutely nothing against him. He was very polite. We had an okay game. It's already my third game in the day, but it's an Altiok -2, -3 to hit, 2 Wave Serpents, 3 units of Dark Reapers, a Farseer, Warlock, and then like a tiny little unit of Guardians and Dire Avengers and Rangers. So basically, he's going all in on Wave Serpents and Dire Avengers, and he's Altiok, so he's about as ITC as you could get. And I wasn't really feeling it. I kind of just marched my little Primaris Marines right up the table into that, and let them all die horribly, and I got tabled on like maybe top of 3 or 4, something around there. It was totally fine with me. I didn't care. But I was just wondering, like I said, I didn't have a bad experience, but the army itself felt pretty unnecessary for a non-ITC event. And same with the army that ends up winning the whole thing, is like 9 Hive Guard, and then all these like fully decked out Tyranid Warriors with every upgrade. And then whatever else they could squeeze in, maybe like a -1 to hit Venomthrope or Zoanthrope. I'm not really sure what they're, but I didn't play against that one. But he ends up winning the whole thing. And it's also pretty full-on kind of competitive list. And then it got me thinking, so it's a fun tournament, but it's still a tournament. Now, I'm not a super competitive player, and I've actually leaned way more into making sure I just have fun overall else, and I've been much happier with my results. But, and I was, I'm playing a brand new army, so I'm not criticizing somebody's choice to, like, want to min-max and win, but what do you think about a fun tournament? On one hand, everybody's there to have fun. On the other hand, it's still a tournament. And some people's idea of fun would be to win all 3 games. At, whether or not their units were painted the best of, from their collection, or painted at all, because painting wasn't required. Whereas I chose only to bring painted stuff, because I was more interested in trying to compete for Best Painted, which I did not win, and Judge's Choice, which I did not win, and Best Painted Miniature, which I also did not win. So I got the repulsor back on the desk, and I'm adding more stuff to it, because next time I want to win. So I'll show you a little preview here. Here's the repulsor. I added a freehand skull. I added a red stripe down the side. I broke them. Great. I'm just going to pick that up so I don't run them over with the wheels on my chair. So anyway, I'm working more on my army because I want it to really pop, and apparently it did not pop enough. So the fun tournament, I think you'd be very surprised how many people actually would really enjoy like a fun tournament. And when I'm going into this kind of event, of course it's going to be fun because I'm planning on having fun. Even my final game with the Altiok Dark Reaper spam kind of list, it was fun enough, right? I killed a Wave Serpent, I killed a couple Guardians and stuff, I don't know, right? I punched some things with my aggressors, whatever, right? And basically, if we were playing open war also, which if you're not familiar with open war, it generally leans in favor of melee. And that's another reason why the Flamestorm aggressors, although none of my twists in open war helped my aggressors, it's usually been more beneficial for melee in open war, which also could have been the reason why the Tyranids won, because they had a bunch of Tyranid warriors and 36-inch range Hive Guard. Whereas like the Dark Reaper guy, if you draw that card where there's like a 12-inch max range on your weapons, well, those Dark Reapers are just a big waste of points for like half the game. So it's not ideal. Whereas if you're a horde of Gene Stealers and you get +2 movement, +1 charge, and then you have Adrenaline Glands for +1 charge, or you get deployment zones that literally touch, or you get +1 attack to every model in your army, all of a sudden, these units get way better in open war. Whereas if you're a shooting army and you get Acid Rain, now you're at a -1 to hit, right, with your whole army. Well, if you're a Eyegard player shooting at an Altiok guy, and now your whole army hits on 6s or 7s and can't even shoot. Even my Space Marines were hitting on 6s sometimes against these Wave Serpents that were -1 to hit, and then they advance for -1 to hit because they got a free upgrade for their engines, and then they're -1 to hit from like a stratagem. So Space Marine hitting on 6s. Everybody else would not even be able to shoot them, which is a little gamey to me. I'm hoping Chapter Approve addresses these -1 to hits in the game. I think they should just cap it at a -1 is the worst you could ever get, which would be interesting. I think that you would see more possibly assault weapons where people run and shoot assault weapons at a -1 to hit, because if you can only get a -1 to hit, then running and shooting your assault weapon at -1 at something that would be -1 would be worth it, because you're only capping it at a -1, and that would make the points more accurate, because like to what, they don't, when they point something out, they don't take into account that it might be shooting at a massive minus to hit something. They just point it because it has a good ballistic skill, so it goes up, higher points, but whatever. So a couple things about the event. One thing that breaks my heart is the winner of the Judges' Choice Award for like best painted army was by like one of my best, absolute favorite people and best friends, and definitely one of my best friends in the hobby of Warhammer since I was very little. His army is painted by another guy that goes to the game store, and he wrote on the card, my army painted by so-and-so, which is totally fine, but I still am 100% against that being awarded or rewarded in a painting competition. I don't get that at all. I don't get the logic. It blows my mind. And literally my friend won it, so it's awesome that, he gets the gift card or whatever, but it doesn't make sense to me that, like, if a billionaire bought, this is kind of a silly example, but let's say Jeff Bezos bought the Mona Lisa from the Louvre in France, then entered the American Portrait Society annual portrait contest. He entered the Mona Lisa from Leonardo da Vinci. He wrote, Jeff Bezos, painted by Leonardo da Vinci. He now wins best portrait, or the Salon Award or whatever for the American Portrait Society. What? And why would that ever happen? I don't understand why in Warhammer this is one of the stupidest things, especially in the ITC. They are all for it. They're like, well, we can't stop it, so people will lie about it. And it makes no sense to me why you would ever reward people for that sort of thing. Like, you buy art to enter in art competition. I don't get it at all. Blows my mind. And I'm not saying you aren't allowed to play, or if there was a hobby score, like you brought a nice army to make the event look better, I think you should get that. But if there is a best painted army award, period, best painted model award, period, it should be you painted it, period. This is insane to me. One of the reasons why, like, the ITC guys were like, oh, well, it's fine because you're the one who brought it. And it's like, they don't understand art, I guess. Like, it's not probably an interest to them. And that's not like a dig at, like, oh, you need to understand art. It's just, maybe not understand. Maybe they don't value it the way, like, somebody might value something, I guess, right? I don't value, like, I guess, being competitive in Warhammer the way I value, like, painting Warhammer or painting miniatures. So I get there's a difference there, but rewarding somebody for something they literally did nothing except hand money to somebody else to do for them seems just, I don't know, pretty crazy. So I'm going to address that to the organizers, and hopefully they change that. And so one of the excuses that they don't enforce it or whatever in the ITC is they say, well, people will lie and they'll just pretend they painted it. And I say to that, yes, people will lie. That's fine. Let them lie, and eventually they might be found out to be liars. If they're willing to lie about that, they're willing to lie about anything in the game itself, right? That's not a label an honest, like, genuine person would want to have on their reputation, I guess. So that's my thought on the whole thing. I'm 100% opposed to it. Another thing, so it was pretty cool. They awarded best general, kind of best performer. I went to the Tyranid player with all the like 9 Hive Guard or whatever. Then they also awarded best tournament points, which was like your first blood, you're killing the warlord, killing characters, and then killing units, and based on their power level, how many little points those units would be worth to you. Now, I kind of thought those tournament points were just for tiebreakers, just in case there was like 2 people that went undefeated or whatever. But they were actually like another way. So there's basically 2 winners of the event. So there's an iGuard player who had like all infantry and maybe like 2 Valkyries, who got the most tournament points. Another good friend, and then the Tyranid guy with the Hive Guard. Another thing, that was really awesome is we played on really cool tables. I don't know why, but I didn't take any pictures. I'm pretty dumb. I should have really taken at least 1 or 2, because they brought out like the private room terrain and the stores like special event terrain, Sector Mechanicus table, and the Star Wars like Tatooine, all the big huts they have really nice 3D printers at the store, and they 3D print like huts. There's the desert vista, there's the rubble city, there was like an infinity city with really, really dense terrain. So your experience would be quite different table to table, and your army would benefit for being more well-rounded. Also on the open war cards, they removed a couple of the objectives. I think the one where you just have to like kill a certain character was removed, and one other one, which I'm not really sure which 2. I can't remember which 2 they were, but they did take some precaution in those open wars, affecting the game. Maybe, not fun, like taking away from the fun. So that was interesting. I also probably would have preferred, there was an open war deck at every table. I would have preferred that they drew 1 open war scenario and then all the tables, every player in there played the same scenario at the same time, same deployment, same twist, same everything. And then everybody would get to like kind of talk about that experience a little bit more between rounds. Like, oh, how did the killing frenzy +1 attack affect you? Like, whoa, I had, 6 whatever. You know what I'm saying. They also had no Lord of War, which was very smart because everybody was just going to take Mortarion, Magnus, or Baneblades, or Imperial Knights, or, whatever. Every single person was trying to do that immediately when this 50 power level came up. It was like, what can I take for 30 or 20 to 30 power level? That's a Lord of War, and then fill it in like with a couple little troops and an HQ or whatever, if your Lord of War is not an HQ. So super, super good they avoided that. They also got rid of Forge World, which I do believe 100% has no place in the game of 40k. I just don't think the rules writers are on the same page as the rules writers for the actual game. And if they are the same, in fact, rules writers, then I have no idea why they just totally make Forge World stuff so silly. But, so no Forge World, no Lord of War, super fun. Which meant I couldn't bring my Deathwatch Knight Gallant. We did single codex, which was cool. There was no allying in Custodi Igard or whatever. My Deathwatch I'm building will have Igard allies, and I already have a Knight Gallant painted for it, so I'll have Knight allies occasionally over, as I play. So I'm not against allies. I think it's an okay part of the game. But it's like you want to... I tell you, there was way more Tyranid players at this event than in Space Marine players. There were so many Space Marine players, and there was like 2 different armies with Rubik Marines. There was I don't know, it was really great, like the mix. There was Igard with Valkyries and no Baneblades or Basilisks or whatever. Like really, really neat how what armies showed up. There was rhinos. You've never seen a rhino before in your life. Well, if you've only played 8th edition anyway. I think there was even a drop pod or 2. Pretty cool. Dreadnoughts that were just regular old dreadnoughts. So a lot of really great stuff came from the event. It was super fun. A couple things here at the end. There was 50 power level. They already booked the next one for February, and I think they're shooting for 75 power level. I think that's a mistake. I think they should just go to like 1,200 or 1,250 points, 1,500 points, 1,000 points, because it will be right after another chapter approved. And also, one of the reasons that made it so fun, because 50 power level, sometimes the game just ends early and you have an extra hour between rounds to hang out and, eat a candy bar and go get a sub sandwich, or, go check out the new releases, talk to your friends, make new friends. And the closer you get to 2,000, the rounds got to get longer. Your body just wears down. Like I don't know, for me personally, like playing 3 games or at Adepticon, the 4 games of 40k in one day, like by the end of the day, I felt like my brain was melting out of my head. So I hope they don't, first of all, I hope they don't do too high power level. I think 50, it could even just be 60 if they want to increase it a little bit. I don't know, 75 doesn't seem necessary. Or I think even better would be like 1,250, 1,500 points. That way every single like Tyranid doesn't have all the toxin sacs and adrenaline glands and the special. There was a lot of Termagants that are all fully upgraded to be like the triple shooting gaunts. And of course you should do that in a power level game. It makes sense to do it. It's why you're playing power level. But I just think it's interesting that power level gets to be easier to be like min-max than points in a way, because you can like take things that you might take in points but then fully upgrade them, whereas you would not do that because you need those points to be able to even afford your elite stuff, whereas now in power level you can have both. I don't know, like I said, I'm not a super competitive player, so I wasn't like I didn't go with the intention to try to win the whole event. I did try and play and win my games, except for my last game. I just tried to kill a few things and put up a somewhat of a fight. But that's my thoughts on the fun tournaments and my experience at the fun tournament this weekend. I 100% will play in the next one, assuming it's not when I'm at LVO or whatever. But also, I'll probably be going to LVO. So if you're going to go there, I don't know if I'm playing in any events, but I might bring like some painting stuff or something to hang out and paint. I don't know if they have like a painting area or painting competition. I'll have to look into that. If you've been to LVO and you've experienced any like painting competition or painting area, because at Adepticon they had like tables set up with Reaper paints and stuff, and you can bring your own brushes and miniatures and work on them in a group environment. It was super fun. It was like right outside where all the classes were. Great idea. So I'll be at LVO. I'll probably be at Adepticon this coming up soon too. But please subscribe. Check out the Mike and Jeff show. What's new with Mike and Jeff? Local to Phoenix, friends of the show here at Redbeard Boss. Please subscribe, like the video, and I don't got one near me, but they're up there on a rack. But ghost brushes coming soon to Kickstarter. They're my line of brushes that I'm getting manufactured. Going to be hopefully seeing the final sample. It's just in pictures in this month, in the next couple days. And then hopefully maybe by the end of the month or before Christmas, I'll be able to run the Kickstarter campaign and place a large order to ship out to you guys. So thank you so much. Talk to you soon.